As you all know, and you already heard from Valentina, Decade Trust Fund is contributed by the Decade participant countries, and it is administered by the World Bank. The Trust Fund is active since 2007. Currently, 12 Decade countries and Open Society Institute are contributing to this trust fund. The initial contribution from each country received is 20,000 euros, and as of June 2012, the total contribution is 480,000 euros. As you can see from this table, the disbursement up to date is 385,000 euros, and the available balance is only 40,000 euros. Since 2007, so far, 29 projects were financed from the Decade Trust Funds, out of which 28 have been actually implemented, and currently we have only one project proposal implemented by IRIS, Spain, to finance an impact analysis of housing program. We have been recently actually extending their contract to December 2012, just to allow them actually to complete their activities that have been planned under the project. The applicants of the project proposals are usually current or future presidency. Since September, our last International Steering Committee meeting, the Decade Trust Fund supported in total 6 projects, 5 being submitted by Macedonia to support the Macedonian presidency plan. And you have the list of all the projects that includes the conference that was held in November on Roma employment, then the conference on Roma health held in January. We had also a project proposal submitted from NGO Slovo from the Czech Republic to finance a conference on anti-Gypsyism. And in the spring, 3 more events were financed from the Decade Trust Fund. These are the conference on Roma without ID cards, then the conference on early childhood development, as well as the housing conference that has been recently held end of May. So, as I mentioned, the Decade Trust Fund, first of all, and especially in the last period, the main aim was actually to support the Decade presidencies in carrying out their goals or implementing their actually presidency plans. This was the case with Slovakia and presidency before Slovakia, with Czech Republic, with Macedonia, and this will continue with the future presidencies as well. It actually also promotes cross-country exchange of ideas on specific topic and supports sharing of best practices that can later be applied in other countries. As to the Decade Trust Fund replenishment, you might recall that at the last International Steering Committee meeting, we discussed the issue of actually lack of funds under the Decade Trust Fund, and that there is a need to replenish again in calendar year 2012 the Decade Trust Fund, and we agreed that the Decade Secretariat would send a follow-up email to inquire about the possibility for the donors to contribute to this Decade Trust Fund. And as so far, actually, we received a contribution from the OSI and from Slovakia somewhere in end of December, beginning of January 2012. Since we received very few responses on the Decade Secretariat inquiry, a letter actually was sent on behalf of the World Bank and the OSI to inquire again whether the countries would be able to contribute for this calendar year. And we received several positive responses. Some of the countries answered that unfortunately they'll not be able to contribute. In terms of positive responses, we actually recently signed an administrative agreement with Albania and initiated a call of funds. So we should soon receive a contribution from this country. Also, Bosnia and Herzegovina expressed their interest to contribute to the Decade Trust Fund. We prepared an administrative agreement, and in the near future, it should be signed by the Bosnian government, and we will also initiate the call of funds with you as well. Croatia and Montenegro also agreed to contribute, and my colleague Anne and I will follow up with these two countries in terms of signing the administrative agreement and initiating the call of funds. As I mentioned, some of the countries, of the donors, unfortunately answered that they'll not be able to contribute this calendar year. However, some of the countries did not actually respond to our request. So we, at the moment, we don't know whether they will be able to contribute this calendar year. And therefore, we wanted to kindly ask you to check with your governments of those who haven't answered to our inquiry, whether you will be able to contribute for the 2012 calendar year, because as I mentioned here, if we don't have funds, Decade Trust funds, we will not be able actually to implement all the activities listed here. The future presidency will not be able by themselves to actually carry out their goals. As you have seen, usually the practice is that the presidency, in the process of implementing their presidency plans, they turn to us and request funds from the Decade Trust Fund to support the activities they are planning to implement. Also, it will not be possible to have events such as, you know, specific events on specific topic to share the best practice, to exchange ideas on the specific topics. So, as you see, the value of, you know, having funds in the Decade Trust Fund for supporting your future activities is enormous. So, therefore, as I mentioned, we would really kindly ask you, if possible, to answer to the Decade Secretariat, to those countries, I'm referring to those countries from which we did not receive any response, either positive or negative, to let us know if they would be able to contribute. And also, since, as you've seen, currently we have only some 40,000 left in the budget, Decade Trust Fund budget, our suggestion would be that until the Decade Trust Fund replenishment is completed, that we use current and the funds and future funds only for supporting the decade presidency plan, simply to enable them to carry out their presidency goals, as I think this was the case with the presidency in the past, and we should continue this way also with the presidency that will actually take over the decade, as it is the case with Croatia now, and later on we will have Macedonia and others. Also, last International Steering Committee meeting, the last International Steering Committee meeting, we discussed also the Decade Trust Fund guidelines revision and the monitoring report introduction. I'll not talk on this, since Tunde will talk more on this into more details, but before we turn to Tunde, I wanted to ask my colleague Anne Anglio to talk a bit about what does it mean for the bank to actually execute the Decade Trust Fund, and also about the process, since we usually at these meetings get a question how long it takes for the project proposals to be actually approved once it is submitted.